Call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Liberty and justice, that's why we're here, I guess, huh?
In support of it.
We'll start with introductions. I'm Larry Graydon, acting chair today. I farm in Mount Vernon Township with my family. And to my right?
Sheree Hales, our farms in Wiscoy Township.
And I'm Richard Honeywell, retired, live down Dresbach area, and guess that's me.
Okay, with that, do we need to read? And I don't have the.
We need to approve the agenda.
Yeah, let's start with the minutes. Has everybody read them from last time?
Yeah, I wasn't here, so it would be
We need
Sherry
to
only.
approve the agenda first.
Okay, approve the agenda first. Any discussion on that? Anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Sheree, second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of the September 20th minutes. And we've all read them.
I was absent. I've read them, but I was absent. Didn't mean much.
I would move to approve them.
I read them there. I was here. I was working that day.
Oh, you actually worked that day? I'm going to abstain because
I second the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we go to our petitions. Staff, would you start us out, please, on docket BOA 1018-1801?
Okay. In regards to 1018-18 number 1, you received kind of a late edition, kind of a memo summarizing some of the comments that we received from the highway engineer, Dave Kramer, as well as some comments from staff. Just want to touch on that. The highway department didn't receive notice of this until very late. In fact, Dave mentions that he had just heard about it today. They're rushed to get some comments in regards to this. He's identified some concerns with Old Homer Road, which is a county road. So in light of that, I guess what staff would recommend at this time, we would like to have the public hearing so we can garnish more information both from the applicants as well as the highway department, see the staff presentation, as well as any neighbors that might be present. But we would recommend that this petition ultimately be tabled so we can continue this for 30 days in order to take a closer look at it with the highway department and to see if there's some design requirements or something else that might come out of this to make it a better application. So it'd probably be good to keep the public hearing open and then maybe move into tabling, but that would be staff's recommendation on this at this point.
How does that fall with the 60 days?
We have the ability to extend an additional 60 days, and that should not be a problem. So
We don't do that, you do that?
we do that.
Okay.
So at this point, I guess if it's the board's desire that we'd like to go ahead and still have a public hearing, and Chuck would like to give the presentation and the PowerPoint and then solicit the public information on it.
Okay, this is a petition for setbacks, and it's mainly for the road setbacks, and there's 2 road setbacks on this one, and then also the depth of the lot. So they're asking for 48 feet, and there's 1 setback for 130 feet from Old Homer Road, and then there's 200 from the Highway 61. And this is kind of showing you where the 200 feet is from Highway 61. and the other one is showing 130 feet from Old Homer Road. One of the things that I did mention in here is that this lot is, this is rural residential, and then there's also another part of the lot that is ag, but where they're building is going to be rural residential.
It's urban residential.
Excuse me, urban residential. You can also see the other houses that are adjacent to this or parallel to it and their setbacks. Oops. Oops. Okay, and then this is their sketch of what they're planning on building. And so the side setbacks would be met. Again, it would be the front setbacks and the setbacks from the road. You can also see that there are two planned septic mounds located. One is for the first site, and then one is for the alternate site if the first one fails. And this is pretty much what it looks like from Highway 61. So you're looking at Old Homer Road right here, and they'd be building down here. Is there any questions? Yes.
On that, can you show us what it is that may be happening to the road that changes this or makes the delay?
Well, one of the things he mentioned, the county engineer, is this retaining wall, and there's a sag in Old Homer Road, so he's concerned with that. And then there's also talk about the MnDOT or not having time to express their concerns from the Highway 61 setback.
And once again, if I could just, if we can, play this game and rapid fire with the questions. The setback for 61 was how much?
200 feet.
So it's actually, they're requesting 200 feet?
Here, I'll show you that diagram again. So they'd be building somewhere in between here, but this is the 200 feet.
They're going to build somewhere along that 200-foot line.
Right, and this, they'd be building in here, and this is indicating 130 feet from Old Homer Road.
Okay. All right.
So Chuck, there was a house there in the past.
Yes, there was a house there in the past that burnt down.
How long ago? Do you have any idea?
I do not.
Mid-80s.
Pardon?
Mid-80s or early 80s.
Okay, any more
Thank you.
questions?
We're ready to open the public hearing? Nice. Have a motion to that effect?
Yes.
Motion by Richard,
Second.
second by Sheree to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The public hearing is now open, and anyone who wishes to speak for or against this petition, please come forward, state your name and where you live and what you think.
Does the petitioner want to speak?
Now's the time.
My name is Robert Dunn. I'm the petitioner with my wife. She didn't want to get up, so I will. I guess we don't have any recall or anything or any problem with you guys tabling this for 30 days. Because I know having those guys being aware of it late in the season and stuff, we aren't planning on doing anything until next year anyway. So 30 days isn't going to hurt us any. And basically, I guess just showing you as far as, I'm not sure which picture it showed, but yes, it is kind of a steep bank right there, and I can see the county's concern for that road. I had heard that they're going to raise it up a foot, and of course they're going to have to make sure everything's stable. There's places down the road from there that have collapsed retaining walls and stuff, and I can see their concern for it. So If you want to pass it or whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. If 30 days isn't going to hurt us, we're not in a hurry, so just want to let you know that don't do stuff hurriedly for us. Yes.
Where do you live, sir?
I live up on, we're on County Road 15.
Just for the record.
Yeah, just above the old, used to be the camper place there. You go up 15, and we're in the first place. If you see the totem pole and the arrow on the ground there, that's our place right there.
Okay.
So we're kind of switching from, we got 20 acres, and I've been retired for a while now, and then just basically what we're doing is going to build a new house and live there, sell that to our nephew. He'll still let me hunt and stuff there, but basically downsizing. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else to speak for or against this petition? Is there anybody else to speak for or against this petition? And is there anybody else to speak for or against this petition? By rules, I'm supposed to ask that 3 times, so don't think I'm senile. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Okay, having heard no more comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I think we're going to leave it open.
Oh, we should leave it open?
That would be our recommendation.
Okay.
You can ask for comments from other departments such as the highway engineer too.
Mr. Kramer might want to speak.
Mr. Kramer, that would be good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dave Kramer, Winona County Engineer. As was mentioned, I did get this just today, took a look at it, have some concerns. Would certainly appreciate the opportunity to review specifically what's proposed, look at the slopes adjacent to the road, and just to, I guess, the chance to look at that. It might be a situation where, you know, there's not any potential issues, or maybe there are. I guess I haven't had a chance to review that, but I would certainly appreciate the pushing this off for 30 days, allow me to work with property owners there and kind of sort out the details of how the slopes are planned to work, and kind of go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure as far as parliamentary procedure, do we need a motion to keep this open, or do we just let it sit on the vine?
Motion to table to the November.
I was talking more specifically about the public hearing.
At this point, if you make a motion to table, it'll just pick up from where we leave off.
Okay. Is there any discussion, or do we want to do that motion right now?
I would so move that we move to table,
I would second that.
leave it open to be continued in November.
He's not going to get charged twice, is he? No. Well, that's good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to table passes, and we'll see you in a month. And hopefully Mr. Kramer will have a lot of good knowledge to share about how we can make this driveway work and the road and everything, and maybe he's going to want you to pay for some of that, but that's up to him. Okay, let's move on to the next docket. Let's see, the number is 10/18/1802. Lou's got that one.
Yep, we have a variance to allow a new septic system on a property down in Richmond Township by Twin Bluffs on the riverside. It's an existing site. They're selling the house. The existing septic system is failing to protect groundwater and needs to be replaced. And the lot is configured such that it's difficult to find a place to put it in. There's the Mississippi River, and we're proposing to put the new system 28 feet from the ordinary high water mark of the river. There is a drainage area, kind of low wet area behind the driveway that would not be conducive for putting in a septic system in that area of the lot. And on the north side of the house, There's a decent lawn area, but that's where the well is. So we're kind of hemmed in on three sides, which leaves a little bit of yard up against the, up between the driveway, house, and river for the septic system. What we're proposing is a new tank to be dropped, which would be 5 feet from the home instead of the required 10. And then the drain field for a mound would be placed 28 feet instead of the required 50 from the ordinary high water mark of the Mississippi River. And I've got a couple of slides here. Here's a map. I think that's in your information there. It kind of shows the layout of the site. You can see up here, this is the well, and the well setback is 50 feet. The existing house. This is a garage on the property. This area back here, you can see with the contour lines, there's a drainage area that comes across the river and kind of runs down through this part of the property, and then actually crosses through a culvert right here and comes out over here. So there's actually a culvert that's running underneath the existing system. The existing system is in the same area here, the drain field. So it runs underneath the whole thing. There's also, I want to point out, and you'll see in the video, right here, there's a little drainage area that catches water that comes off of the roof of the house and this driveway and catches it and delivers water through the yard and out to the river. So that will have to be, we were talking on site with the contractors, and that will have to be, they're talking about putting like a manhole inlet there and some rock work around that to create a better inlet for that stormwater, and then put it down and underneath the absorption area of the septic system. So those are two pieces. The gutters from the house also are planned to be diverted and down past the system, so that water from the houses will no longer be going above, but around the system, so that doesn't impact the drain field. So it's a tricky site, but the contractors have looked at it, and I think they have a plan that works.
So Lou, where's the driveway? I can't really tell on this picture.
The driveway is right here. This is another garage right here, and the driveway comes like this, and then out here, and then Sandpiper Lane, which is the private drive, comes across the train tracks up here and connects to Highway 61.
I see.
So their driveway runs down along here and over to here. We'll turn around here.
And the property's changing hands, and that's why they're
They're
upgrading.
selling the property when there was an inspection for point of sale, which is, why
Right.
why the existing system was caught.
That's an error.
Oh.
The property is not changing hands.
Oh,
I own the property, and if I was to tell my wife the property is changing hands, I couldn't move home tonight. The property is staying with us.
oh,
So you're just fixing it because it's the right thing to do and needs to get fixed?
Basically, I had the septic system inspected by Laughlin. I have lived there 32 years. I moved in January of '86. The septic system that presently is there was there at least 20 years before me. He told me they had a life expectancy of 20 years. This septic system has outlived its life expectancy by at least 2 times. I should put in a more environmentally friendly septic system. And this one was going to fail sometime in the future, we thought. So I'm putting in a more environmentally friendly system.
My bad. We do have a video. This is a shot from the driveway. The drain field would be is existing through here. There's a in-ground, and the mound would be going in this location. You can see the river in the background. Existing tank is here, and that would be the location of the new tank as well. Pan back up towards the driveway, and Sandpiper Lane is beyond. The well is essentially right around in this location by this post. And back towards Highway 61, you can see the little drainage ways. We've got water in it trickling through there. There's the railroad tracks, and you can see the highway in the background. And back down to the garage, and this is that inlet right off of the driveway that's currently there, and that they are talking about reinforcing. Gutters here that there was talk about at least intercepting that somewhere in here and running it down below the drain field so that water doesn't come up on the upper side. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me, or?
Yes, I do. The shape of the mound, are we going, do we have the ability to set the, I assume they're not square, it's probably longitudinal, one way or another. Have we got it established to the river? Narrowest width,
Right.
so we're not damming water.
They need to run along the contour is key. They are kind of rectangular, as you can see in the drawing. They are running essentially it's a rectangle. The big square here, not the big square. The big square is the berm area. That's the covered area. The little square inside is the absorption area. So that's the area where and then the lines here are the distribution pipes. So the wastewater will come out of those distribution pipes. They'll run straight down through the rock, or I think they're using easy flow media, which is a different type of media, but it'll run through there and then straight down through that and hit the ground below, essentially. And since the slope is this way towards the river, it'll hit that slope and run out towards the river. The absorption area is the area that it'll take for all of that effluent to absorb into the ground. So by the end of this rectangle here, all of the wastewater will be subsurface.
I was thinking of surface water, and we can get some pretty good rain. He's obviously at the bottom of the. He's 600 feet mean sea level, roughly. We're a long ways from the ocean, so everything off the hills is coming down. And I was thinking we build ourselves a dam with that above surface mound, okay? And I forgot about the picture here, but what we're going to do is capture it and throw it right at his house. That's the surface water.
Right. Yep. And so that's definitely a concern, and that's one of the reasons with that drain that's above here. That was what we discussed on site. Is number one, that drain is the water coming off of the driveway, and will the berms from the mound be holding back water, or will it be able to shed water? And then with the drain there, catching that and making sure that passes through and under the system without causing problems. That's always a problem with mountain systems.
Yeah.
And so they have been thinking about that though, and diverting water and making sure that water either hits that drain or sheds around the mound.
you know, at 8 pounds a gallon, roughly. And I've seen water come down hills like that. It's all of a sudden 24 inches deep.
It's not catching a bunch of water here. If you look, because this is low here, so anything coming off of like upslope bluffs, highway, the ditch here, the railway, that's all hitting drainage ways that are either, I don't know, maybe the petitioner could tell us a little bit more when he gets a chance where that might be going, but essentially a lot of it's hitting this this drainage way behind here and the culvert, which isn't going to be interfering. It's below the mound system and isn't going to be interfering with that. The only stuff that would be coming off of the driveway and then like, you know, pooling potentially, and most of that should be going into that drainage, that little drain there. But the only stuff that's going to be hitting that is essentially probably half of the driveway.
Yep.
Maybe some stuff off of, you know, up by here is going to run this way possibly. And then like from the driveway from like this area running down in here.
Yep.
But that's where that drain is meant to catch that small area and make sure that it runs away.
Yeah, and, you know, thanks for the enlightenment, because the rail bed was going to be elevated above a ditch somewhat. And obviously, there's some pitch to that somewhere. So, yeah, I think it's not as big a potential problem as I saw until I had the discussion.
It's one of those that's not a huge problem for the system, I don't think, but it's definitely something that like design wise that we've talked about, and that the designer and contractor is aware of and is trying to you know, make sure that there won't be any issues with that.
Yeah, I'd put as much money into landscaping as I did the septic system if I was doing it.
Okay,
To the point of the stormwater inlet that was discussed, modifying, much like Bluff Country Co-op, if you've been by there, you know, in a small infiltration basin with deeper rooted plants, also known as a rain garden, could be a possibility there with the inlet set just a little bit higher so that there's the ability for stormwater to absorb right there with native plants. And then if you get one of those gully washers, the inlet is set just a little bit higher than this depression, and then it takes the overflow out. Something like that, there are some very modest county grants available for, depending on when this were to go in, and staff can give some assistance with that, and that could take some of that driveway water instead of shooting it directly into the Mississippi or onto a turf panel in the rear. You know, cut that volume down just slightly without maybe a lot of expense.
Lou, I was looking on some of the installer sheets, and it mentioned the possibility of removing the old system. This is going in the place where the old system is.
Correct.
So old tank and drain field all has to be removed, and then the soil replaced and the media put in. Okay. I mean, it's a possible removal of, so I was just.
Yeah, I think the existing system is rock, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
And I think that they're looking at you know, when they get in there, possibly removing some of that and putting in sand. I'd have to go back and check my notes.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly what they're doing with that.
final question. As far as the staff and you are concerned, this is a good thing, and this is going to meet the requirements as best we can?
We'll go through those.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, as far as technical, you know, as far as treating sewage and wastewater, what's being proposed will do a better job than what's there now.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we'll need a motion to open a public hearing on this petition.
So moved.
Moved by Sheree. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Second by Richard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now open, and anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come forward to the mic, state your name, where you live, and your thoughts.
My name is Steve Craney, and I own this property. We are doing this as a preventive maintenance to failure of the present system. We're basically told that it has outlived its useful life by twice probably. When I had O'Laughlin and their engineer look at it, they proposed this. Richard, I've taken this to the Township Board, Richmond Township, who have approved it. They were familiar with the property. And they mentioned some of the things kind of like you did and said, I have the Highway 61 as a dike and I have the railroad as a dike that stops all water flow. The only water flow I really get in the 32 years I've lived there is down the driveway. And we put in a dry run to take it to the river when it came down the driveway. I've never had a problem with it, either in the house or in the drain field or plugging it up. I believe this is the right thing to do environmentally. It gives us a more environmentally friendly system than I have now, and is preventive maintenance on my part, and that's why I'm doing it. I hope I wasn't too tough on my wife when I said that if I sell the property, she won't let me back. But she's kind of fell in love with the property and wants to do this work also. And I have no intentions of selling the property, but living with the sins I create there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak for or against this petition? Come forward at this time. Second time, anybody else for or against this petition, come forward and speak. And the third time, was there anybody else that would like to come forward and speak for or against this petition? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
A second.
Moved by Richard, second by Sheree. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. I would assume we'll go through the approval criteria. Is that correct? Number one on this petition, anyway, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of the ordinance. I think that's pretty clear that that's the case. Is supposed to agree with that?
Yep.
Number two, the variance request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
I think so. Number three, has the applicant established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official control and purposes to use the property in a reasonable manner? I would say very clearly.
Agree with that.
Should I read the staff analysis, or are we comfortable with that?
You don't need to read the staff analysis as long as at the end of the day you're adopting the draft findings as the findings of the board.
Okay. For those of you that might not be familiar with that, that's our attorney that keeps us out of trouble, at least she has so far. Number four, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property, not created by the owners of the property since the enactment of this ordinance. And a prime example, of course, would be railroad and highway and those kinds of things.
I think that's a yes.
Number five, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. From my analysis, it's going to make it better.
Yeah.
We all agree on that? Number six, economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. To my knowledge, that economic considerations has not been mentioned. Number 7, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance and is the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty. 3. Number 8, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Seems to me we're raising the standard that's there now, but you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to read the staff recommendations just because. The staff recommends the Board of Adjustment consider the materials submitted by making the petitioner, the contents of the staff report, and public testimony while making findings to support their decision. Should the Board of Adjustment approve the petition, staff recommends the following conditions. Number 1, the owner or owners of the property to which this variance is issued will abide by all representations and commitments made during the permitting process as well as before the Board of Adjustment to the extent they are not consistent with the spirit or letter of explicit conditions to the variance. You guys could make that a little simpler. I'm confused a little bit myself, but I think I get. Number 2, the petitioners obtain the required septic permit and comply with all relevant regulations and standards of the Winona County and the state of Minnesota. Now, I really like Kay's comment earlier, and I'd like to incorporate something in there about a rain garden. I thought that made a lot of sense. Would, just by a nod, would the owner be against, if we added a number 3, to not require, but at least have you take a strong look at a rain garden for some of that runoff?
Absolutely. Not only that, I'm moving a rain garden.
Okay.
Right now, and I would love to replant it, my wife has.
Well, then, do we need a separate motion to add a third petition?
I don't think you need a motion as long as everyone's in agreement.
Okay, so
To add a third condition, yes.
you're comfortable with that, adding that?
I would just like to add,
Moderately.
if I may, retaining water next to a drain field is probably not the best idea. Holding in water retention, usually they want to shed and make those areas next to drain fields, the natural drainage is they want to shed as much as possible. And holding water is generally not a good idea around a drain field. And also in this location, I mean, the toe of that mound is essentially up to the driveway. So in order to incorporate the drain, they're actually building up a little bit of a wall to hold back that berm. So it's kind of like you're inserting that into the berm of the mound itself. So the room there to do any kind of landscaping is really nil. But just my 2 cents.
Well, I appreciate that. What about on the other side? Okay.
Mr. Acting Chair, Lou's point is an excellent one. I think that, if the site is handled, and I believe from the petitioner's preliminary remarks, he might be amenable to this, in a way that reduces the overall stormwater runoff into the Mississippi by either tying downspouts in the back, reducing turf in the back toward more permanent perennial cover, perhaps pollinators that are a little deeper rooted. Maybe we can achieve, sort of that same net reduction effect, because it's running off other places from downspouts as well. Downspouts on the other side could be tied into a rain garden too, if in fact our septic inspector, Mr. Overhog here, who knows certainly better than I the impacts of extra drainage next to the field. So I think that could possibly be achieved through downspout tie-in, downspout disconnect type of rain gardens.
Richard.
I think in general, I didn't buy in immediately to making number 3. I don't know this gentleman, but I have a pretty good idea of who he is and his moral fiber. I think we're always best served when we leave those with good intentions and 30-some years exposure to the property, the flexibility to do with his rain garden as he pleases within his obviously 30-some years of demonstrated responsible ownership. I always think we're better off. I think that to add a third is a bit of government overreach. I don't think it buys us anything. It may actually create more harm than good in some kind of vetoing of what Mr. Forgive me, I didn't commit your name to, but anyway, the owner. That's just me. That's why I have a bit of a problem with adding number 3. I believe that the gentleman is going to do the right thing in placing his rain garden, whether it's at the end of a downspout or in the middle of his driveway. Just me.
I was wondering if Lou felt there should be anything added about surface water and runoff from the house, if that should be addressed more formally, or maybe that's covered just by, will abide by all representations and commitments, which is number 1.
Yeah, I don't have any recommendation
Okay.
one way or the other, whatever you guys want to work out with.
Okay, thank you, Lou. So,
Well, I guess we'll leave number 3 go, because there might be some issues, and we'll let the professionals and the owner do the best they can. With that in mind, do I hear a motion to approve or deny this petition? Or are we done talking about it, or what?
I would so move.
with the 2 conditions.
Yes, with the recommendations and all representations of the applicant, I would move to approve.
I would second that.
Motion made by Richard, seconded by Cherie, to approve this petition. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Best wishes with your project. I do have to read Board of Adjustment appeal to District Court. At the end of every one, that we approve or disapprove all decisions by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals from any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final, except that any aggrieved person or persons or any department, board, or commission of the jurisdiction of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after receipt of notice of the decision to the district court in the county to which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision just rendered at this public hearing must do so to the district court. The planning department is not responsible for filing the appeal. Is there anything else we need to talk about today?
Is there anything else on the agenda?
No.
All right.
I would say we could adjourn.
I got to have a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
Yes, you may. We don't normally do that, but go ahead.
I just understood that the Shasau, I received a notice that the Shasau variance was on the docket today, and I came to speak to that.
It was withdrawn.
There was an amendment sent out yesterday, Ann?
Yesterday we got,
According to the mail, I did not get that. I received the initial document from the county, but I did not receive the other, and I was prepared to comment.
well, let me see if I can fill it in.
I think the petitioners withdrew that.
The petitioners withdrew.
Yeah.
They're not building a garage? Because they have, I mean, I'm sorry to do this to you all.
No.
But they have an outline of a building on their property at the current time.
Correct, and they withdrew their petition at this time.
Could you explain to me what that means particularly?
They waived their 60-day notice so that they could possibly come in next month, or they will withdraw it altogether.
So I would receive an additional notice?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, thank you for that.
I'm sorry that you didn't, I mean, we got an email, and that's why, like, on my agenda thing, I had it crossed out.
Email Christmas cards in Thanksgiving, and nobody gets them till after New Year's, so that's just mail, that's not emails. Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, this was so late that there was no way we could have got information to you.
That's fine, I'm retired, it's no position.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
moved by Richard,
second.
second by Cherie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.